Okay, so I just bought myself this stroke harvester head. This is a universal kind of harvester. You can mount on anything with a crane. But my intention is to mount this thing on the excavator I got. So this thing you can buy with a wedge or a saw unit. I got the one with the saw unit. I feel like that is the faster way. So the function of this is that it cuts the tree and delimbs the tree, taking off the branches of the tree, leaving you with a clean log. All with the comfort inside of the cab. That's kind of the selling argument. So yeah, I never used something like this, so it's gotta be a first time experience. The only way I've taken down trees is blasting them, pushing them down with the excavator or using a chainsaw. I never used anything like this, so it's gotta be an interesting experience testing, using this thing. But there's a lot of firewood that need to be produced. Well, for my personal use, I don't really use that much firewood, but Gramps has kind of, he needs a lot. So we're gonna go through all the function, all the parts that came with this later on. So I'm gonna need to make myself an extension boom to this rotator here. So from the excavator, an extension boom to this rotator, which is installed in this. We're also gonna go through the pricing and all of that, how much my installation with everything cost when we get that done. So if you're curious, do something like this yourself. But let's bring in the excavator and start making an extension boom for this. Want to see some magic before we start mounting anything here? No office above there. And now we got a new office above there. So this is 1.5 weeks later. I got kind of a vague idea how I want this. The thing is that I want this beam welded onto the grapple here. So I can use the grapple when I'm not using that, if I easily want to move things around there in the forest, logs and stuff like that. Also being able to move the machine. So when you move the excavator, something you usually do is that you push down the arm to easily switch the undercarriage in which direction you're going. So I want to be able to do that without pushing that thing down the ground. see how far this is coming out. So that beam is gonna sit like this. Thing I don't want to do is I don't want to cover this bolt hole here, so we're not interfering with that. It's coming up rather high. If we're gripping a log, we don't want this interfering here, so we're gonna need to cut that off. So I am going to make this mount removable. I don't want to weld this to this. I just kind of, when I just want to use the grapple, I can remove the boom from that. Let's see. So there's a lot of stuff just under this side here. But we couldn't get a bolt. Let's see how far that is. It's gonna sit. So from the cab, this angle felt really good. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna strengthen this entire thing. So I'm thinking about using 2 bolts up here also, and maybe something angled going here. Oh, my new shoe. Oh. So this was a rather exact fit here, so we're gonna need to remove these. Can use that. Yeah, that works. What if we just reuse this template there? Use that. I kind of want to bind these 2 surfaces together, so. So the gap is getting rather big here. It's going to be a pain welding that. So why don't we just cut this open here and hit this part down a little bit to Get less of a gap. That went faster in 2 spots here, so just leave this stuck there. I'm just gonna weld everything before continuing here. So everything is welded here now, and underneath and whatnot. So it would be nice having some kind of piece here going, connected like that. That's what I was thinking when removing these screws here, is that I could make something to mount this also in the screw. Not sure if that is needed though. So I'm gonna leave that for now, we can do that later. I gotta start looking at this, connecting this other beam onto this. So let's do that. So this square tubing here, that was a really good finding. It got the perfect shape for what I'm about to do. And yeah, it's a little bit thin though. Could be a little bit thicker, but we're gonna need to strengthen this thing. This thing is coming here. That is gonna sit like this. And then underneath this, we got the rotator coming, and the rotator is gonna get stuck onto the harvester head there. So next step is to strengthen this and get this mounted onto here. This is coming here. So I think I gotta cut with the plasma here. Cut that up on both sides so we can bend it in. And then cut this on the inside here so we can bend this piece out to fit this better than it is right now. So I'm thinking about making two of these. Angle it like that. And that kind of will lock this thing so it doesn't flex. At the same time, when this is here installed and stuck there, it's not like this is gonna flex that much though, but let's make two of these. Alright, so next step now is to get this stuck here. So we're gonna go and see if we can find some kind of pin. So this hole here is 30 millimeter, so I'm also gonna look if I can find a 30 millimeter pipe. That would be really easy, just using the plasma to cut this out. I don't have a 30 millimeter drill, so and then weld a little pipe piece on each side here, so everything is sitting real slim. So it doesn't start, yeah, you know. Let's go search for that. So this hole here, that is 30. This bolt is M30, so. And that fits good there. Yep, now we just need to find ourselves a pin to fit in the hole here. This seems to be the perfect size. Why don't we go with this? So these things are kind of rusted here, so I'm not gonna bother with them. I'm just gonna take the axle from that. So I gotta cut this out instead. This thing is a little bit deformed here, so I wanna just touch that. Oh, I need to fix that. I wonder what these things are for, and why there are 3 of them. Maybe it's some extra for something else, but I'm guessing this here is for putting them there when you're not using them, maybe. So when you tie it here now, these things can't move. Not sure if why they need to be here though, but they are. All right, so now we got this thing complete. It can spin in either direction. It's starting to look like something now. So this little locking pin here, I'm gonna change that. I mean, if this thing gets accidentally pulled out like that and the rotator falls with the hoses in, it's gonna be a bad day. So maybe I gotta put the screw there when I'm done. So it feels good seeing this mounted now, how it looks. So swinging this around, you could feel it was kind of a lot of weight onto this. I mean, this thing together with the rotator here, around 300 kilos. At the same time, it's getting out rather far. So the force in that is getting a lot more. I kind of want to cut this pipe off a little bit. Feels kind of unnecessary having it this long. The positive thing with having this length it is right now is that, so if you want to, when it comes to using the grapple there, I had a kind of a thought that you don't want this thing swinging around if you want to lift a lot of stuff away there. So I kind of thought that it would be neat being able to use this arm to grab onto something onto this with this, so it's kind of stuck onto here while using the grapple. But yeah, the downside with cutting this down is that this is also gonna get lower. So when using the grapple, you're gonna need to use that in quite an angle. You can't use it like this. Well, you can't really do that right now either, since this is not angled up enough for doing that. So, but I don't know. At the same time, when this thing is connected, it's not like you're gonna use that grapple a lot. Mostly, my thought was mostly using that for smaller stuff you want to move or grabbing. So, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to cut this off, right or left. So around there, to get this thing closer to this. So it's a lot of unnecessary weight. So it would be neat having this, taking a test run with this, seeing what you need to change or something like that, just to get a feel of this entire thing. Goddagens! Vad tror du om den här då?
Den ser helt farlig ut.
Ja, visst gör den det. Okay, so I did some thinking here. How we're gonna do it is that I am gonna cut this off a little bit. It doesn't have to be this long in its shortest mode. So what we're gonna do though is that we're gonna cut this off and we're gonna make the hydraulic hoses for this. Then we're gonna take it out the forest and we're gonna try this thing. Just getting a feel how it is to drive. Maybe we need to shorten this more, maybe not. Just get a feel how it is. Then step 2 is we could make this thing extend by hydraulics. I think I got the perfect cylinder for that in the forest there somewhere. I think I know where it is. So we're gonna mount the hydraulic cylinder to this, to have the possibility to extend that if needed. Also, if you want to connect it, having this hugging here somehow. We're gonna look into that though. But if we can extend this, we could have that hugging this, even though if we cut it off right now. And what we're gonna need to do after that is that I only have 2 hydraulic functions on the excavator. So one is going for the rotator and one is going for this. So as it is right now, I can't use the grapple and I'm not gonna be able to use the hydraulic for this. So we're gonna need to build 2 new functions for the excavator in order to make everything work. But let's start. Let's start taking this for a test drive. So let's just finish it as it is right now, and then we're gonna focus on all the other stuff later on. Just gotta fold up. It really looked like that was stable enough. It's like carrying a drunk friend home. When you think he can walk, you let go. Just fall to the ground. Oh. Oh. It really looked like that was stable to stand. Talk about luck. It's just touched the door here, so a tiny little mark. Wonder if it broke something. Something chipped the concrete though. Hopefully it wasn't anything important. It wasn't too bad though. This thing bent a little bit here. And the paint got a little bit damaged. Yeah, I just put that OSB board there, so let's keep this new. I don't want to mess up the paint yet, but yeah, well. We just learned this thing can stand by itself. Up like that, so let's not do that again. This thing still works. Nothing wrong with the hatch. Alright, so it was this thing hitting the concrete there. But yeah, it's just a little mark. Could have been worse. So I ordered some hydraulic stuff here. These 2 bags is filled with hydraulic stuff, and this rest is for other projects. So let's get this out. Oh, come on. Get some hose. A lot of these boxes. Nothing. 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 Oh, they were probably just meant to keep the box filled. Or maybe they forgot some stuff there. Got some connectors. Empty. So I got 10 meters of each hose, just to see what I need. This is not for this project only though. This was I just bought this as a starter kit for having something at home. I've been searching for some kind of hydraulic stuff supplier, but I haven't found anyone. Feels like when you're gonna restock an entire garage with different kind of couplers and stuff like that, it's gonna be really expensive buying that from a normal site. So I've been searching for someone to buy that from for a little better price than the normal shelf pricing. Haven't found that yet, so I just bought this as something to start with. I do have a press. Gonna unbox that also. So we got some hose protection here and more couplers. different kind. We're gonna need these though. Right now, we're gonna start with this. Just gotta sort them in boxes. Alright, so now I have some couplers to start with here. So this was a kit they were selling, so I just bought that. Different size of quick connectors. These are kinda, it's not good quality, but it's not bad quality connectors. This works. But then we have these. These are also quick connectors, but these got double seals and you can just feel the quality on these are much better. So I gotta use these for the excavator there. And then just normal crimping connectors to put onto the hose here. But I did find a supply in Italy, by the way, that were selling hydraulic hose. You could get your own name onto the hose. I thought that was rather cool, but the problem was that the minimum length they were selling was it around 5,000 meters in order to get your own name onto that. So it was a little bit too much for me. 5 kilometers of hose. I don't think I'm gonna use that in my lifetime, so yeah, I'm not gonna be able to afford that either. So this is BSP. All the connectors, couplers I'm gonna have is BSP. This looks much better shortened like this. Felt like a good decision taking that off. But what we're gonna do now is that, so there's 4 hoses that's gonna go into the front here. So we got these to fasten the hoses with. And then we got these bulkhead connections. So I gotta make 2 different hoses. One hose going from the machine, coming here, connected through this bulkhead, and then from there, going on there. So if the hose getting damaged here, I only need to replace this part, not the entire thing going to the machine there. That is coming in there. So since this thing is gonna be extendable, we gotta leave some hose slacking here so you can extend that. And maybe we're gonna go rather high with this actually. So if we have that around here or here. Why don't we use one of these? Like that. And how is it? It's gonna go like, yeah, this up to the machine. Okay, so this is going there. Okay, let's test that. So a little short. I'm gonna give them a little bit more. It's not much though. So this is the perfect length. We're gonna go with that. So what if we cut that off here? The copper is gonna come. Yeah, let's do that. So about the stuff laying here, this little island of stuff, that is waiting to get onto shelving. So, but I need to build it first. So here we got hydraulic hose crimper. I bought this a few months ago. Haven't even tried that. Just been laying around waiting for me to test it. Oh. Here we got a crimping chart for that hose. So let's get the right dies. That is gonna be, let's do the smallest first, 20.5 millimeter. How do we know which is which here? So 14 means number 3. Oh, do we need to read this thing? What's that? 23. We're gonna need 20. No, 19. I'm gonna get it done. Yeah, well, I guess that works. It says number 5. What does the numbers mean? Why is there a number? I'm not really sure how to read this, but we're going with number 5. Put them like that. Oh, there's no oil in there. Well, there is a little bit of oil just in the bottom. We're gonna need to fill that. Okay, now it's working. Okay, so it said 19 on the bag there. Let's see if that means 19 millimeter. That is 19 there. So, yep, that seems to be true. Number 5, 19 millimeter. Well, so if I'm gonna press that 3/8 hose to a crimp diameter of 20.5, then I should be able to use this, right? so that is good. We're gonna go with that. Okay, so now we're gonna change the hose to 1/2 inch. That is gonna be 23.5. So we're gonna need to change this. It's almost like a little exercise pumping this thing, but I do have a pneumatic pump that I'm planning to install into this. I don't have the right connections for that, so that's something I gotta order. Let's see, so we have 4 hoses, 2 for each side. Three 8 to 1/2 inch. That was that. I'm gonna change these out to these couplers instead. These are really expensive. I think I get almost 3 of these couplers instead of 1 of those. So, drop that. Let's go up there, come on. I just realized you can shut this off by doing that. Okay, both sides connected. So I'm making a shopping list of everything I'm missing right now. So for this part here, this bulkhead connection I did here, I want to do the same thing on this side. So when I put the cylinder here, so I'm able to extend this thing, I want to have a hose just slacking there, going into the bulkhead connection, and from the bulkhead connection going onto the rotator. So I don't have those. I also gonna need to buy, I think I'm going to connect 6 2 valves onto the existing hydraulic to get 2 more functions. So I'm gonna need to order that. I gotta need to order some more hose. Just for testing now, I'm just gonna spot weld this so it's stuck where it is and make the hoses so it's good enough for testing. We're gonna start with that at least. A little bit more secure. Oh, so that is the hole going for the harvester. And I'm guessing that's the other hole. Let's check that. Yep. So this connection is too small. What if we make just a temporary hose now that's around this length? Still gonna need to have it rather long. Yeah, that is good. We're gonna need some more hose. I did not have enough of that. So this thinner hose here, it went a little bit short, but you can get this to up there. Since we don't have a connection for this yet, we're just gonna leave it hanging here. Oh, okay. All the 4 hoses are connected, going here into the rotor, into this. That is stuck, that is stuck. Those are stuck, that is stuck. Stuck, 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 stuck. All right, so let's test this thing. I've been eager to do this for a long time now. Oh, I forgot to tighten one hose. So this thing is extra equipped with a battery, directional valve, and 2 sensors here. So when you want to delimb the tree, having it with a battery and this directional valve here, it's gonna switch. So it feels when it's out and when it's in, when it's out, when it's in. So you just need to hold the button in order to doing that automatically. Let's connect this battery and try this thing out. So this thing is not feeding out the sword, so we're gonna need to adjust the pressure here. Okay, that is open, and then we use this. If the chain is moving but the sword ain't moving, tighten the screw. Tighten the screw. We gotta tighten that screw. So What if we just go half a lap? So I'm gonna try with that. It might be too much. You don't want too much feed. That thing is gonna get stuck in the tree. And the chain doesn't have enough power to spin. So the chain lubrication inside here is a little bit too much, so it's dripping oil. We're gonna lower that. So this thing is going from the saw block and to the sword there. So this is the... So as it is right now... Oh, it was almost closed. Okay, like that. I think this is good. It's just open. Let's take this out for a test drive. So this thing goes really heavy in snow like this. At times like this you want to use the arm to just drag you forward, but it's really hard when having it like that. That's why I want to be able to lengthen that and getting the harvester stuck to that arm, because now it's just swinging around. So you can do stuff. But yeah, that's the next step. Let's try this tree now. Okay, so here we got the rotation. You see that? Oh. We'll spin this thing that way and that way. So, and here we got, let's get this a little closer. So, and then we're gonna grip the tree. We push this there. Okay, now it's gripping the tree. And if I keeping this pressed that way, when the pressure is getting high enough, it's gonna start to saw and the saw is gonna cut that. But if I regret my decision, I want to get off, I push that back and it's left off. Okay, let's not holding that. So it's starting. I'm gonna lift this a little bit. start mission. Go up again. Why is it doing like that? I gotta try gripping this again. Oh, now it's working. Oh, everything was going so good. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna need to adjust the pressure there. Okay, let's see. User manual. Here we go. The saw starts under the limbing process. Sequence valve number 1 is set too low. Tighten that. Loosen that. So it was like that. What if we give it half a lap? Let's tighten that. I still need to adjust that pressure. Still a little bit. So if the twig knives open when the thing is moving back, exactly as it does. Sequence valve number 3 is too low. So that thing is in here. Okay, so here we got 3 valves. Which one are we gonna touch? It says to tighten this just a little bit. So we open the locking screw. We get our... Oh, it doesn't fit. Okay, we can do that by hand, I think. That is open. Tighten this a little bit. So what is a little? That is almost half a lap. So, testing that. No! Dang it. Well, let's try again. Yeah, I guess it's kind of heavy. I don't know. How are you supposed to do it when it comes like that? That thing is too big. We could open that. Okay, so we could open this. So, and we can jump. No, get it. jump to there. Cutting that off. I thought, no. Hey. That's the twig. So I've been messing around a little bit, trying some different techniques here. And the thing is that the thing I adjusted here, the number 1 there is supposed to be the number 1 here. So I've been adjusting the wrong thing. So if I took the time to read a little better, I would have seen that the number 1 I should adjust is there, not that number 1. So yeah, I'm gonna mark this. We got 3 and the 1, and that is number 2. We're not supposed to touch number 2. It says so in the manual. So we're not gonna touch number 2, but we're gonna adjust that one a little bit. So if we go, okay, let's do half a lap there. We're trying that. Okay, so now it's starting to work really good. So if you adjust the right valve, it's actually starting to work really good. So look at that. I'm not sure why all of these birches they start as 1 and then they turn into 2. A lot of these are that. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to, when it turns like this is, well, so I gotta put the cover back there so I don't damage anything. It's no longer possible to walk on this alone. Look at this. Why are they like that? First, starting off at 1, turning into 2, and then that 2 is turning into 3, and that 3 is turning into 4. It just keeps on multiplying here. I don't know. It's kind of hard. So I guess the technique here might be to saw up here, to saw them off into two different, well, same there, or something like that. That is two, that is two, that is two, that big one is two. Can I take this down? Or is it gonna fall on mine? Okay, let's do it like this. Okay, we gotta cut that out. Right. Let's go. Thank you. Ah. Look at that. There is no problem catching that again. The thing now when you're gonna catch that again is that first you gotta pull it out like that, then you gotta go for a saw feature, pulling that back just so it grips and you can hear the saw start, and then you let go, then it grips that thing, and then you can just keep on walking. Now I just slowly. And now when it starts to go to heavy, it kind of gets stuck there so the saw wants to start again. So what you can do is now, you can let that go and release the pressure a little bit, so that thing kind of want to backs up, and then you try again. Like that. When are we gonna cut that now? If we want to cut it there as it is, that thing has to be out. If it's in, it's not gonna do it. It's gonna release the log instead. So since that thing is out, you just push the button back and it cuts that thing. You just hold it there. Maybe we're gonna need to tension that setting a little bit more. So now when we got scrap there, we don't want to keep that. If I now push the button here, it's gonna cut since that it's further south there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk that thing back home. Like that. So now when it's home and you push this way, it will release and go back to home position. This thing is actually fairly easy when you get to know it. I mean, I only cut like 9 trees, and I feel like I kinda get a hold of the function on this. I mean, imagine being out for days with this. You gotta be, you gotta become a harvester, man, here. Easier walking on this when it's hard. I remember when we were kids, always when the snow became like this, frozen, we were biking around in the forest. The problem was just that when you found a soft spot, you always went flying. Let's see how big this thing is. Around 28 centimeters. Let's have a look at this. This is a little bit bigger. Yeah, 32. I think it said that it can take up to 30 centimeters in diameter there, but I think 25 was the preferable. So this was just a testing spot. We're not gonna take any more here. So this is gonna be left to grow. Most of the stuff is so small. But we gotta get this inside the forest. There's a lot of birch to be taken down. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here for this time. So I gotta keep on building. I gotta go and search for a hydraulic cylinder I can put there to get that thing extendable. We also gonna build extra outlet there so we can use this, and so we can extend that. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff to be ordered. So I gotta do that, and we're gonna be back with this thing in action. So if you're interested in buying something like this yourself and wondering about the prices, this thing together with the saw unit, around 22,000. You have this rotator, was that around 600 maybe? And that 200-300, somewhere there. Oh, yeah, all the prices are without tax. Yeah, and this beam, that thing. So I was on my way to the big town. I had to renew my medical for sitting in the tower. So I found that thing. He wanted 150 for it, so yeah. I'm gonna take this back to the garage and I'm gonna keep on building. See you in the next one.